Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world you're tuning in from. If you're wondering if you're in the right place, and if this is indeed the Boost AI webinar on business integrations, you're in the right place. My name is Monica, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Boost AI, and I'll have the pleasure of being your host today. Believe it or not, it is my first time running a webinar, so I am feeling a little bit nervous, but excited at the same time, because I think we have a lot of exciting content to cover during today's webinar. What we're going to look at is various businesses and their journey when it comes to enhancing business integrations powered by conversational AI. In essence, we'll look at how today's technology, used wisely, can make business processes simpler, faster, and much smarter. Our goal today is to really showcase how conversational AI and business integrations combined can make a great impact on increasing operational efficiency. This particular powerful combination can transform and really improve the user experience, both for customers, but also, if you think about it, for your employees, if you consider internal process improvement. Just before we dive into the webinar, as usual, this webinar is being recorded. So if you have to leave early, if you have to grab a snack, if your emotional support peacock is having a heart attack, we've heard it all. If your connection's bad as well, we will send a recording afterwards, so please don't worry. If you are joining us live today, please make sure you make the most of it. We have a Q&A section, which is used for the learning purposes. So I strongly encourage you to ask questions throughout the session when you still remember them. And what we'll do is we try to answer as many of them as possible at the end. If we do, however, run out of time, we are absolutely on a mission to leave no question unanswered, so we will follow up with you afterwards. Okay, so let's have a look at today's agenda and get a little snapshot of what to expect from today's webinar. First of all, we'll look at business integrations as a term and explore the potential that integrations and virtual agents bring to the table together. We will hear from Jon on the technical aspect, and Julia will share some of her broad experience implementing such projects. Then we will move on to the fun part, where 3 of our extraordinary AI trainers will show us real-life examples of virtual agents using integrations to improve, or as we said in our title, Supercharge, online customer interactions. We will see virtual agents from Poston, Telenor, and D&B. So it will be a pretty good spread of both capabilities and integrations that those virtual agents are using, but also in terms of use on different industries, as it will be a postal service, a telecommunications company, and Norway's biggest bank. So very, very exciting spread. And then lastly, we will also look at slightly more technical aspect of things and the requirements, so we can find out how easy it actually is to implement such processes. So I would say that these days, if your business isn't digital, at least in some part, you're probably not running a successful business. But being digital is not quite enough. Any business has to tackle a daunting spider web of integration challenges. But it seems that for many people in the business, especially business leaders, it is a nice to have, not a must have. All businesses in one way or another rely on software, most likely for both internal and external operations. But if you think about it, if there's no dialogue between the standalone applications, you ultimately end up with a bunch of silos. So raise your hand right now. You can use the button, you can do it at the screen, it's absolutely fine. If you ever got madly frustrated about Department A having absolutely no clue what Department B was doing, while Department C already approved the purchase order that you worried about all along. I've been there, whether it was a purchase order, whether it was a pay slip, whether it was whatever else, this happens, and it is frustrating for anyone involved. So that's why digital business ecosystems are so incredibly important. Forcing organizations to face the scale and diversity of integration tasks when kind of conventional B2B integration technologies are quite inadequate, for no better word. And if you think about software, it can be integrated, but these integrations if they actually complicate the process, people will stop using them. So if we actually take away all the complicated stuff and just give people one single easy to use interface, a chat window. People want to get an answer fast. They don't want to play hide and seek. They don't want to wait an email for 1 or 2 business days. So imagine sending an email on Friday and waiting till Wednesday morning. It's not what we want. Or even worse, getting stuck on a phone and being 27th in line. I particularly enjoy the choice of horrendous music they usually choose to play. I think it's a play on getting you to hang up. So everyday life has shaped our expectations to demand convenience, speed, and simplicity. And right now, chat is the best way and the channel to deliver against those expectations. And if you look at the technology as well, it has become so mature and compatible that it is possible to integrate with backend systems, letting companies automate virtually anything, from simple tasks to more complex transactions, all happening directly in the chat window. So the next thing to look at as well is actually, to set the scene even better for all our speakers, is to look at the conversational AI term. It is a key ingredient where making it possible to automate transactions. And many enterprises across the Nordics and EU are already using it and using it really, really well to boost the self-service. But to avoid any confusion going forward, I think it's good to maybe set a clear definition of what it actually is. So here at Boost AI, we define conversational AI as a synthetic brain power that makes machines capable of understanding, processing, and responding to human language. And I think if you kind of ponder on this for a minute and you have a clear understanding of what conversational AI is, and when you're working on improving self-service, it becomes pretty obvious that the solution you need has to understand exactly what your customers are asking for. It's not really a Monica show today, so I don't want to take away any more, and you can call this introduction anything but short. But I hope I did set the scene for all of our speakers, and very much look forward to the rest of our session, where we will look at conversational AI, integrations, and chat in a much broader perspective. So backed by popular demand, we've got Julia Pauriena joining us today. Julia is a director of data analytics and AI at Avo Consulting, responsible for helping some of the most ambitious and innovative organizations in the Nordics with their AI deployment strategies, AI project prioritization, and employee training. She joined Avo Consulting in 2018, has got years and years of experience of some incredible value, both from the fintech sector and technology. And she is an incredible example of a kind of female leadership and drive. And on top of it, you know, from our rehearsals, an absolutely lovely lady. So Julia, welcome, and thank you very much for joining our webinar.
Thank you so much for such a nice introduction.
You're more than welcome. So when we had initial talks about this webinar, you talked about the importance of companies finding the right balance between dozens of different KPIs and performance metrics. Could you share some of your thoughts and advice on this?
Yeah, that's absolutely. So I think when we work with automation in general, one of the things, or kind of one of the benefits one would think of, is time savings. So if we think in terms of conversational AI and implementation of chatbots, that would be, of course, how many inquiries are you capable of automating? So really resolving it in the chat window so that the customer doesn't have to call us. However, there are many other benefits that a successful chatbot could create in an organization. And one of them, of course, is, for example, creating a great customer experience. And integrations is really an important part of being able to do so. So if you think about that, when you have so many different benefits a chatbot could create, it creates a certain complexity when it comes to setting goals and when it comes to kind of involvement of the right stakeholders when you're about to set goals. And if you think in terms of the AI trainer team who is going to be building the solution that your company wants, they are really the wizards that need to take all of the input from the business unit owners, from the communications team, from every other stakeholder that could drive the benefit through the chatbot and really realize it in the solution that they will build. So involving the right people very early on, setting very clear goals, maybe 3 to 5 goals, not more than that, really sets the direction of the first kind of version of the solution and enables the AI trainer team to deliver success. And I think also one thing is to setting goals. Another thing is to really set the right levels of goals. For example, when it comes to chatbots, one of the things we always want to achieve is a good customer experience. And very often we experience that customers might think in terms of customer experience in general. And one of the goals that often comes up is that we would expect the chatbot to create just as good customer experience as we do on the phone, where our customer service reps are answering and helping the person. So the question is whether you will ever be able to achieve the same level of customer satisfaction through a chatbot, through technology that you do through a phone, where you get personal guidance kind of and help. And this is, of course, a question to answer for every company separately, but I think this is something you need to think about, that setting the right level of goals and kind of deciding what is good enough and where are we going to focus is completely critical.
Perfect. Yeah. It doesn't seem as straightforward, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of keeping it simple, isn't it? And clear. Julia, from your experience as well, when helping your clients with their digital transformation, how do you spot an automation opportunity? What makes a process ideal for automation?
Sure. So digital transformation is a very big area. Automation is just a part of it. So if we focus on kind of conversational AI and the service of chatbots and implementation of that, of course, we always start with the kind of strategic goals of the company. What is important for the company? Why are they interested in implementing technology like chatbots? And then, of course, it's really about the process understanding. So what we're looking for is processes or kinds of inquiries that you would get from customers or internally in the organization that keep coming back. So really frequently asked questions, frequently incoming inquiries. So high volumes mean that if we manage to automate them, then we will create some value quickly. Another thing which is very important is to consider if chatbot is the right channel for that high volume inquiry. So by research, we know that different kinds of inquiries that we prefer different channels with different kinds of inquiries. So if it's a very kind of straightforward confirm or reject kind of inquiry, this usually is a good fit for a chatbot or a chat as a channel. However, if you are looking to discuss something or if it's a complex question, then probably chatbot might not be the first choice. And maybe you shouldn't pick that high volume inquiry and put it in your chatbot, because in any case, you will not be able to resolve it and the customer will still end up calling you. So it's really about finding the balance and finding kind of the match between the inquiry and the customer channel. And in the end, I think what we're always looking for is end-to-end automation, which means that we're looking for existing APIs and whether somehow they will help us to automate that inquiry completely. So what we're looking for is really to resolve customers' issue on first contact point.
Okay. Well, there's lots to think about with this one, but if you think about these points and try to apply them towards chat, as I mentioned in the introduction, chat is a preferred way that we communicate these days, and instant messaging in particular, like with apps like Messenger and WhatsApp, handling billions of messages each day. So from the business perspective, adopting chat is just a beginning. It's by giving it the key role in your channel strategy where you can communicate with both customers and employees and you can really have the low cost benefit. So Julia, I feel like I'm just talking to you at the moment, but could you tell us what chat first strategy actually means and explain why organizations should at least consider chat first strategy?
Sure, sure. So first, a chat first strategy is just a channel strategy, right? So when a company is chat first, what we mean then is that chat is the preferred way to communicate to your customers. So it means that everything, or kind of all the communication channels, would try to direct the customer into that chat window. So traditionally, many companies are phone first. So when you come to their website, the first thing you see is different phone numbers you can call. And maybe then you have a chat window where you can also chat. And maybe you have an email address that you can contact the company on as well. However, when we go chat first, what we try to do, we try to nudge the customer to use our chat solution. And we do that both on kind of digital front end or the website and kind of all the digital communication, but also all the other oral and written communications. So it could be information on the phone that we provide where we nudge the customer to use the chat the next time, or it could be, the written invoices, for example, which also would nudge the customer to use chat. So it's really about kind of a very common effort to drive the customer traffic into that chat window. And then, of course, what you need to ensure is that you create a solution that can resolve customer inquiries, which I already talked a little bit about. And the reason to try to achieve that is, of course, to really be able to scale and provide great customer service, not only within the opening hours when the phone is open, but really 24/7. And once you manage to get your customer into the chat, you manage to solve and resolve their issues, what you also achieve is this kind of like one source of truth. So you collect a lot of data, you see what customers are asking on, you get better insights, you can plan your operations better, and all of that. So you have a lot of kind of secondary effects that are provided if you really succeed with that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think this is probably the perfect time to introduce the concept of transactional virtual agents. Some people call them chatbots, but we at Boost AI kind of make a point of calling them virtual agents, especially since they can perform tasks on behalf of the user and resolve things directly in the chat window. So I'd say they're much more sophisticated than any other chatbot. We managed to convince Boost AI's own Jon Carlson, who works as our lead software engineer and a true integration wizard in our technical division, to walk us through the inner workings of integrations. Jon will explain the capabilities and the impact virtual agents have on business integrations, and he'll no doubt do it much better than I could ever attempt to. So let's go back to the basics and take a step back. So Jon, not John. There we go. Could you walk us through the illustration? What are we seeing exactly? And why is both the customer and the employee looking so happy in this picture?
Right. So if we want to go beyond the FAQ stage, we need to be able to communicate with external services. For instance, you can ask the VA about the current weather, and the VA does not by itself know what the weather is, but we can connect to a weather service and get the information we need based on the location and current time. A different example can be an internal HR system where the end user wants to ask about parking spaces. And again, the VA does not know anything about the parking lot, but we can get external information by integrating. Anything can be automated through the VA, and by integrating towards external services, you can get things done very quickly. And also from the employee's point of view, the repetitive tasks can be avoided, which in turn will make the workday a lot more engaging.
Right. I think I might need to speak to my boss about getting my own VA to maybe get rid of some of the repetition I'm doing these days. But Julia, from your perspective and experience in helping Ava's clients through their different types of digital transformation, like we said, what are your thoughts on how integrations improve customer experience?
That's a great question. And I would like to start by just saying that sometimes to create huge benefits, integrations are not necessary. We have great examples specifically within the COVID-19 times that we have experienced the last half a year, where the need for information is so huge that you can actually achieve great results by just providing information in the right structure in that little chat window. However, integrations really allow for the personalized service. What we mean by that is that, you as a customer, if you come to a chatbot that is not integrated with the backend systems, you can ask questions and you can get general answers, and maybe that's what you need. But the second you can log in and you can extract the information that is specifically for you about your contract, your product, or your relationship with the company, that's where it becomes really personal. And then what you do, you really allow the customer to solve their own issues on their own time, in their own way. So in that sense, you create a really personalized, scalable service, which is available 24/7. So I think that's quite clear on how this can be valuable.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for your explanations and very different sort of view on things as well. It's really valuable to hear both sides of the story. I do think, though, that the best way to truly understand the value of conversational AI, and especially when we talk about business integrations, is to see the whole thing in action. So this is the fun part that we're moving on to now. So I asked a handful of my colleagues in our AI division here at Boost if they could join me in this webinar to show all of you tuning in today real life examples of a transactional virtual agent who use different types of integrations with their backend systems, and ultimately making everyone's life much easier. So the first use case we're going to take a look at will feature my colleague Niels Henrik. See, I've got a problem with all the names, so you have to bear with me. I did rehearse them about 5 times, so it's just the nerves, I suppose. Niels Henrik will show us a very interesting integration that has made the Norwegian Postal Service able to provide customers with instant access to tracking status, delivery times, customs clearance, shipping rates, and any other question that increase waiting times for complex inquiries with human support. So, up to you, Nilsi.
Thank you, Monica. So yeah, I'm going to show you today how Posten have used integrations to increase their service to their customers. So Posten is the Nordic postal service provider, and they have both private and corporate customers that they serve. And one thing they have done is to use an API integrated with their backend system to enable their customers to track their parcels directly in chat. So I thought I would show you that. So I'll just let the VA know that I want to track my parcel. And then I just need a tracking number. And now the virtual agent fetches information from the backend systems of Posten. And I can see that this shipment has not been received by Posten yet, but they have got the notification of the shipment. And if you have several parcels you want to track, you can just click a button here and we can have a new tracking number and check the status of that one as well. And as we can see, this one has been delivered already. So this is fairly simple for the end users to use, but that's a very big point of the integrations as well. It needs to be user-friendly in order to give proper value. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And it's really cool as well that we were able to show this particular virtual agent live. Julia, you had some comments on that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just coming back to your question about chat first strategy. I think Posten is really a perfect example of being very courageous and going into that direction. So when Posten decided to implement a chatbot, it was very clear what use case we should choose, because most questions that come into the postal office are about tracking the parcels. So when we were developing the chatbot, they also simultaneously decided that they will release a completely new website to make sure that the focus is on the chatbot and that the customers are being nudged to use the chat service. So as you already just saw, the first thing you see is it's actually just two things you see on the website. The one is a search window where you can search your parcel, and then you have the chatbot that pops up, and you can also ask about your parcel. There are many other things you can ask about, but both of them have similar kind of functionality. And basically, the user ends up either searching or using the chatbot. And the interesting thing here is that even though you have the search window, which is quite a traditional way of finding information, most people prefer to use the chatbot. And we see that the conversations that they engage in with the chatbot are much more kind of rich, and the feedback that we get is very positive. I can't say how much time this has saved for Posten, but I can tell you that the week we have released it, we actually received several calls from the customer service because they were confused why so many few calls are coming in. I think they saw a huge effect of around 40–50% of those type of inquiries going down. It was immediate effect. And I think it's really a result of being really bold, taking this hard decision of going chat first, and kind of having a trust in that solution. So it's a great success story.
Wow, no, that definitely pays off to be bold sometimes, it seems. So that's good. That's good. The second use case, thank you so much, Julia. The second use case that we would like to share, courtesy of Thomas, see, I didn't have a problem pronouncing that name, that was straightforward, will show you how the global telecommunications company Telenor has used integrations to give their customers the ability to manage their subscriptions and services by interacting with virtual agent Tell Me.
Right, thank you. I'd like to do a short demo of some of the transactional use cases that Tell Me provides. Tell Me is Telenor Norway's virtual agent who's been helping end users since January 2019 and currently supports over 20 different transactional integrations. So starting off, the first use case is about payment and billing, and specifically about seeing your latest invoice. In order to do that, the end user has to be authenticated, and they will use the same login method as for Telenor's webpage. After successfully logging in, the end user is redirected to the chat to continue the session. And as you'll see in just a second, the invoice will appear in the chat panel. Furthermore, you can click on the image and you'll actually be redirected to Telenor's My Pages to get even more information about your subscriptions. The next use case is about mobile data. The end user would like to know how much data they have left this month, so they will need to choose between the active subscriptions. Since we're already authenticated, we don't have to go through that process again, but the amount of data left will be shown as an interactive image. We've also added buttons here for natural follow-up questions, such as asking about if there's any family bonus. And also we got a link to another API, which is actually to order more data. The last use case is about ordering a new SIM card. The user journey is short and sweet, yet effective. Again, the end user will need to choose the subscription. And basically by pressing one button, they'll order a new SIM card to the address they registered at. Using advanced conversational features such as action context and goals, we're also able to understand relevant follow-up questions and give a proper answer to those. And that's basically it. Hopefully it was a little bit inspiring and gave you some ideas on how to use logged in technology to actually create your own self-service use cases.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas. That's perfect. And obviously we had to use a video of this one for security purposes. last but certainly not least, we have Avon, who will present the integrations that enable companies to combine the human touch with machine-like efficiency. And that was actually human efficiency right now. Our AI trainers changing, as you could see. Avon is going to show us how Norway's biggest bank uses integrations to make sure there's always a human at hand to help the customers if the conversations requires a human. And it's actually all about finding that right balance that truly makes a difference. So back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. So today I will show a use case from DNB, Norway's largest bank, which is a client of Boost AI. The use case will be an end user which is logged into the internet bank and have an interaction with the virtual agent. This will also be a video recording, as it is a real person which is logged into the internet bank, to not show any personal information when we're logging in. So let's start the video.
Perfect.
Here we can see the end user is starting the chat in the online bank, where it's starting to engage with the virtual agent. And for DNB, they have integrated towards their human chat program for users that are logged into the online bank. So we can see this end user wants to speak to a human agent. And when it asks for that, it has the options to choose which department it would like to speak to get the relevant answers, and so that the human agent will be able to answer correctly. If you ask more specific questions, you can be transferred to the correct department directly and don't need to click the button for the department you want to go to. So we can see now that there's a human agent assigned to the conversation, and then they can start to, or the end user can start to engage with human to get the relevant answers. And the reason why this is possible is because DNB has, with their virtual agent, chosen to integrate to their own human chat software, which is really important actually, because a lot of the end users sometimes want to speak to humans, or there can be also inquiries which are really either sensitive or advanced, which DNB wants to transfer to human agent to have a good connection between what the virtual agent can handle and what the human agent handle. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Niels Henrik, Thomas, and Avon. I really like the sort of real life examples rather than just being bored with tons of theory, although a lot of theory is always a good idea to start with. I think it's actually quite impressive what a virtual agent can handle when combined with some clever integrations, and how much simpler the interactions can become. And if we look at this quote and think about when we've all been little kids, we all want our independence. We want to do things ourselves. So I suppose there's no surprise that the study from Harvard Business Review claims that across different industries, 81% of customers attempt to take care of things on their own before they reach out. It is our human nature, but it also cuts out all the possible points of frustration we could see along the way. So there's no doubt that integrating backend systems with a virtual agent is a great way to give customers exactly what they want and need, which is self-service at its best. What do you think, Julia?
I think that's a very good point. I think many customers do want to be self-serviced, and some customers don't. But I think what's important here is really, there are two parts to it. One thing is what you already mentioned, the integrations. And what integrations do is they really allow us to automate end-to-end, so really solve the problem in that one channel at first contact point. However, there is another very important thing that I also already mentioned today, and it has to do with choosing the right channel for specific types of inquiries. So what we see, as I already mentioned as well, is that there are not all inquiries are a good suit for a chatbot. However, some of them are, and the inquiries that are a very good fit are the ones that are very kind of transactional based, when you know exactly what you need, where you want to take an action on either ordering, canceling, changing something on your personal relation to the company. And what we also see by experience is that automating the inquiries that can be automated in a way which actually solve a customer problem, that they can create very unexpected results. So I will give you an example. This is a huge international company providing electricity services to a consumer market. And basically, every month they have some customers that are unfortunately cannot pay their bills. And the process before the chatbot solution was that you had to call the customer service and you had to explain yourself that unfortunately I cannot pay. And you would probably get an extension, but you would have to make that human contact, which can be quite devastating and embarrassing for many people. So what we have done, we have identified that as a good case for chatbot, because what we saw is that avoiding making that call creates an incentive for people to self-service, and that was also quite a high volume on those kind of inquiries. So by using integrations to the backend system, the customer could come in, they could log in, and they would immediately get an overview of all the unpaid invoices and also invoices that they could postpone. So there was a certain business logic coming from the backend systems. And the customer would basically be able to extend their payment date by 30 days. What we also saw was that the kind of the incentive to do it on your own and kind of avoid calling, it was so strong that we kind of decided, okay, hey, maybe we have an opportunity to get paid for this as well. We can automate it, but we can also charge a little fee that would create an extra revenue stream for us. And we tested that, and actually closer to 9 out of 10 customers who wanted to postpone their invoice and found a way to do that online were willing to pay that fee. So here you have a kind of a double reward. You automate, but you also increase your revenue stream. So I think that's what we're really looking for. It's really a craft, you know, when you create this kind of solution, to find those cases that create great customer experience, automate, but maybe also create an extra revenue stream if that's possible.
Wow, thank you. That's incredible. I think that's probably my favorite example. If you think about it, that we're willing to actually pay to avoid human contact, also probably a bit of humiliation that we can't pay our bills. I think that's a perfect example of how things are moving forward. So now that we've covered the whys and what of virtual agents and integrations, as well as seeing that quite a few of them in action, before we head to our Q&A section, I think it's a good thing to think about the how. A very important ingredient for making a virtual agent able to act on behalf of customer is user authentication. Jan, could you tell us a little bit more about user authentication, what it actually means in this context, and maybe give us some examples of how it's been done in the past for our clients?
Yes, so having a VA being able to answer general questions is great, but being able to answer personalized questions will take the conversation to a whole new level. RBA understands several industry standard protocols like OpenID Connect and SAML, and we can integrate with the client's backend and perform the necessary requests to enable us to give specific answers for individual end users. For instance, I would like to transfer money, or how many vacation days do I have left? The integrations look basically the same as with the parking lot example I gave earlier, but the difference here is that we also pass along what we call a token, which can be viewed as a secret key so that we can identify the end user. And also, if needed, we support several ways of encrypting the data or using HMAC verification. Our highly customizable solution supports all of this.
Perfect, thank you. Are we by any way worried about storing all this information for the user?
So the thing about our integrations is that we don't know anything about the end user because we don't have to. we are just relaying information, and we go to great lengths to ensure that no more data than is actually needed is stored in our system. In other words, the particular contents of the answer is not really of interest to us, only the fact that the customers get the answers they are looking for.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I think when we first had a chat about this as well, I found it really useful when you explain it to me like you would to a non-technical person, when you use the sort of folder example, and we are the folder and the vessel, we don't look inside the folder and we put it on a different shelf. So obviously it's very, very secure. People hearing about integrations and virtual agents for the first time may also wonder about specific technical requirements. It's another question for you, Jon, but what does it take for an organization to implement API integrations in their virtual agent?
Yeah, so first of all, the API needs to exist. If it doesn't, it can easily be created. And once we have this API service in the admin panel, the clients can write their own custom code. It's super flexible and they can do whatever they want. And in the response data that they will get, they can select which parts of it they want to use in the conversation flow going on. And make as many requests as they like.
Okay, right, that's great. Thank you. Julia, you've been through some very ambitious projects where your clients wanted to implement a number of different API integrations right away. How did this affect the delivery of the project? And in terms of the timescale, are we talking more months or hours of developer work?
So it depends, is the right answer. So it's really about, like it has already been said, it's about what is available. What can we just start using? Often it depends on a third-party vendors. So we take that as a starting point. We have we get an overview of everything that is available, and then we match it towards the kind of use cases that we want to realize. And if the API is available, I mean, it's hours sometimes. It can be that simple. But however, if the vendor API is not available, then you need to order it and it needs to be created, and that could take months. So this is really about prioritizing and delivering where you can create value quickly.
Great, thank you so much. We're just about at the Q&A part of the webinar, where we will look at the questions that we received throughout the session. I can see, I'm looking to the left because I can see there's some questions that already came through, so that's exciting. It wouldn't be a proper webinar without another stat, this time from Forrester Research, who states that 70% of consumers said that valuing their time is the most important thing a company can do to provide them with good service. So if you look at this one and combine it with the Harvard Business Review quote, you can pretty much conclude that the best thing we can do for our customers is to save them time and let them take care of things themselves. So it's pretty simple. And that's where a virtual agent is ideal for understanding what your customers need and taking action on their behalf to ensure instant resolution. And for organizations that really want to not only survive but thrive in the digital age, delivering intuitive self-service is absolutely essential. And based on what we've covered today, I think that connecting virtual agents to other parts of your business has an enormous potential, as we've heard from our speakers, to save both your employees and your customers plenty of precious time, while saving you or earning you money, as Julia used that example, in the process as well. One last thing I wanted to mention before we head to the Q&A section is maybe some of you are wondering how to actually get started with an integration project or a conversational project in general. And a bit of advice from us would be to look for a vendor that can actually let you test the solution, because it has to work for you. You might be needing something very simple, or you might be needing something that, has different language capabilities, natural language understanding. So it really depends on what you need. What we've done at Boost is we've developed a self-learning AI module, which we can use to apply to your particular business case. And that is delivered as a proof of concept in 10 days. And then you get access to your virtual agent for 30 days to see whether that's something that works for you. If you need any more information on that, please feel free to get in touch. We're happy to advise and help as many as possible to change the world and basically put conversational AI everywhere. That's kind of our mission, to make everyone's life simpler, I think. But I think it's time for the Q&A session. So let me look at the questions that came through and let's see if we can answer some of them. The first question that we have is, do we have, there we go, I'm just going to pop that in here. Do we have any numbers based on our use cases based on customer service rates and return on investment and the satisfaction as well? Would that be a question for Julia maybe? Do you have some sort of numbers you could show from the clients in the past?
So great question. I think that's always the kind of the big the big question we get. I think what I would like to suggest is that you go to Boost AI page on LinkedIn, and there you will have a lot of good reference cases with videos and customer kind of testimonials, but also numbers. Then you can really see it for yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, I think shooting the stats and then how, you know, we can replace X amount of humans in a very short period of time all sounds good, but I think it's actually, like you said, the real life examples that really can provide a bigger picture of return on investment. We've got another one, which is a bit of a nice comment as well, which is always good to see. Very nice and sleek front end shown by Telenor. So well done, Thomas. Was this custom made? So what do you think, Thomas?
Yes, Telenor has developed their own front end.
Perfect. So that was custom made. So that probably answers the question. So there's many possibilities to have it done however suits the particular client as well. So in that case, it's pretty simple. The next one up, what integrations do you suggest starting out with that deliver the quickest return on investment? So maybe again to Julia, what was the sort of integrations that some of your clients found to be the quickest to provide that sort of instant resolution rate?
Sure. So again, it depends on both what kind of business you're in, but also what kind of chatbot are you building. Is it an external chatbot towards the customers, or is it an internal one? So I can just give you two examples for both. So for the external one, where you have consumers as a customer, and this is a customer service chatbot, then very often we see that kind of the back-end billing systems is a great way to start, because they kind of contain information about contracts, invoices, all the kind of facts about the customer relationship. That's a great place to start, because that's what you usually get questions about. If you're building an internal chatbot, let's say you're working in a huge international company with many thousands of employees, and one of the issues you want to solve by using chatbot is increasing kind of information access for your employees when it comes to HR. Then of course you would consider completely other types of systems, right? So it could be SharePoint, where you have all your information about employee benefits, or it could be other kind of internal backend systems. So it really depends.
Okay, thank you so much. One of the last questions that I can see coming through is, can I get a demo of more integrations? And that's maybe something that I could answer. I've actually worked as part of the Conversational AI team and the specialist before. So I actually was responsible for showing some of the demos. We have a dedicated team that looks after kind of showcasing the capabilities that we have of the system, the sort of backend integrations as well. So if you do want to see a little bit more than the little snapshots that we've shared today, please head to our website, which is boost.ai, as you could imagine, and very simply just fill in the get started form or request trial, and one of our conversational AI specialists will get in touch with you and get a little bit more information just to show you the right thing that you need for your business rather than just any demo. So definitely we do that all the time, and it's the best way to really see the capabilities of the platform that we offer. So 100%. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I can see for now. So we'll keep it open for a little bit more, but let me just try to wrap up. So thank you so much for all our speakers for joining us today and sharing your very unique insight and expertise on the topic. If all of you tuning in enjoyed today's webinar, please let us know. We will be sending a short survey right after, so it's always good to get some feedback, whether it's good or bad. We do want to improve, so please do share your thoughts. Good things just keep on coming, Joe. So on the 24th of September, we will be hosting another webinar. This time it will be on AI trainers, a new breed of customer experience professionals who are becoming an essential part of the modern frontline teams. As Julia said, obviously a very big part in many businesses. But if you can't wait and are itching with excitement, you can always access our on-demand webinars in our library of our resources. And considering the global pandemic, you might have watched all the reruns on Netflix. So this could be a cool alternative. I think it's quite nice rather than watching the 5th season of Friends for the 3rd time. We all know that Joey doesn't share food and Rachel and Ross were on a break. So maybe it's time to learn something new, and we've got a whole library of resources. So I definitely encourage you to look through that as well. I mentioned earlier as well that the webinar has been recorded, and we will get you access to a link to rewatch it anytime you want, or share it with your colleagues as well. But that's it from us today. So thank you so much for, okay. That was it. Sorry, I thought there was another question. I got excited. But no, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.